So we'll do lesson 7 today, since you guys have done with your teachers, and then if whatever remaining time we have, we'll cover questions if there are any, and if as a bonus, if you guys have done any of the quiz questions, I'm happy to answer them as well. So regarding lesson 7, before I forget, I'm going to you guys should probably all have access to this, but in case you don't, I'm going to send you in the group chat, as in this chat. Let's see, where's the chat? Right here. This is the Google document that I'm using. If you want to follow along, I'll be just scroll to the bottom of it. It'll be at the very bottom. And I'll go ahead and send it in the group chat as well, just because sometimes for some people it's a little easier. So, and then so today for lesson 7, we're going to be covering demonstrative pronouns. That's like the technical English term. I learned it as ismul ishara. Which one you want to use, it's fine. So I just sent it now in the group chat as well. You're welcome to access it in either place. That's fine. So I'm gonna go in the very bottom. Right. So lesson 7. Okay. So now let me start sharing my screen. Okay. So lesson 7. Today is 7/26/21. So we're going to be covering demonstrative pronouns, or asma'ul ishara, which we'll cover soon. And if we get time, we'll cover the conjugations of present tense, which is like just basically, as you can tell, each lesson it builds upon the tasrifat, or the conjugations. So the thing about the conjugation, that takes just more of like, you just work on it on your own time, really. There's not really a way to teach that material other than just sitting down and memorizing it and going through a lot of it. But I want to focus more on the demonstrative pronouns, because that's the actual conceptual thing for today. And then, of course, if you have any questions at any point, not necessarily at the end, but at any point, just interrupt, raise your hand, or say something, or put it in the group chat. Happy to respond to questions, because the benefit of the office hours is that you guys, I would imagine, go relatively quickly in the actual group classes. So today's kind of a time to digest the material and to let it marinate. Speaking of which, I remember that some of you had questions about, or concerns about, the fast-paced nature of the course and about considering doing self-paced option. Rest assured, I have contacted my supervisor about it. He hasn't gotten back to me yet, which I expected. He's probably got like a million other things to do as well. But I'm hoping that within a week or two he will respond. It's just this isn't something easy to respond to for him. He has to look at various other logistical things to consider. But rest assured, I did follow up with him, I think yesterday, but I probably did it a little too soon. So I'll try to follow up with him sometime this week as well. So before we start, do you guys have any questions or any burning questions you want to ask, either about the material or anything else? Okay, I will take that as a no. At any point, if you do, just let me know. Okay, so let's get started then. So I'm going to be going according to the material that is in the video chat or video lesson recording thing that I sent via the link in the group chat message, which you also have access to. So we're going to follow along with that as well, other things. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Quick question.
Sure.
Is it normal? Is it normal that when you have a pointing noun, the second word, if it starts with alif lam, and that's all, it's going to always be a phrase?
Yes, so it's customary, but not always. So before we continue further with that question, always the English convention changes. So I want to make sure that we're thinking about the same thing. When you say pointing words, are you referring to asma'ul ishara, like hada, hadihi, dhalika, tilka, that thing?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, no, it doesn't have to. The second word doesn't always have to have alif lam. It tends to. Oftentimes it does, but it doesn't have to. In fact,
I'm saying if it does, is it always, is it basically just going to be two words and it's not going to be a sentence?
No.
Am I making myself clear?
I'm thinking it. Or at least I think. I hope I'm understanding you correctly. So it's not always two words, just only two words. It can be a full sentence. Whether you add alif lam changes the meaning. So we'll probably go through that today because today's lesson is about that. But
Okay.
to answer your question briefly, number one, the second word can or cannot have alif lam. It just depends on the situation. It depends on the meaning that's being conveyed. Usually it does have alif lam, especially for your purposes. You guys are going to be studying more of the, I guess you could say like textbook examples, like the simpler examples. But you can have it without alif lam, and you can have it in more of a sentence format. So it's, you can say هؤلاء المسلمين, these Muslims, and leave it at that. Or you can have a full sentence afterward. I don't know, like for example, I mean, this isn't necessarily in the Quran, but from my head, like هؤلاء المسلمين الذين يدرسون اللغة العربية في المساجد. The Muslim, these Muslims, the ones who study in the masjid, kibarun, are great, that kind of thing. So did that answer your question?
Uh,
Not sure who asked.
okay, this is Charmaine.
Oh, it's
Okay,
Charmaine.
because okay, like in one of the examples is Zalika al-Sharu. Okay, and I was just wondering, typically in some of the examples, it had Aleph Lam following like Hada or whatever, and it's a phrase. And I was just wondering, is that the normal, or is it just for examples in this particular case?
Yeah, yes, it's normal, but when I say normal, know that there is an option otherwise, basically. In other words, yes, usually it has alif lam, but it doesn't always have to. There are plenty of examples where it doesn't have it. I just can't think of one right now. Okay, so tell you what we'll do. Yes, you could say, for example, we're gonna expound on this a lot more during the lesson, but to give a quick example, you could say ذلك قلم. That is a pen. There's no alif lam there. Or you could say ذلك القلم, which translates to that pen. That is, which doesn't exist in Arabic, becomes implied with the absence of alif lam. Okay, I'll go ahead and write that for you, just because which we're going to expand. That's the whole point of today's class. So we'll expand on this. But ذلك sorry, I'm just say قلم. This is that pen. Whereas if you said ذلك قلم, this means that is a pen. So this is a clear example where you can have alif lam or you cannot have alif lam. The meaning does change. ذلك قلم is a complete sentence because it makes sense completely. You have the mubtada and the khabar. ذلك القمل, the first one, that's not a complete sentence because the listener is waiting, like what's next. So this is what yes. In other words, you can have both of them. Which one's more common? I don't know if we can say one's more common than the other. They both seem to me equally common. Does that answer your question? Okay. I will take that as a yes.
Okay,
cool.
yes, I couldn't unmute.
No, it's no problem, no problem. Cool. So if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, let's start the material. That question, I'm sure I'll be expounding further upon it as we go through this lesson. So, all right. So I hope you guys can all see the Google document that I've shared. I'm actually going to be, excuse me, going based off of this, video lesson that we've covered. So let's just get started then. Make sure that it is sharing. It is sharing. Cool. Asma'ul Ishara. This is what it's actually called, okay? Asma, you guys know what asma means, and if you don't know yet, that's fine. Just know that asma is the sorry, one second. Just want to make sure this saved. Yeah, it's saved. Okay, cool. Asma'ul Ishara is this. Demonstrative pronouns. Now, do you need to know the English? No. I mean, unless your teacher specifically asks for it, but you don't really need to know the English. If you continue on with your Arabic studies, as I've said many times, you'll need to know the Arabic. They will definitely expect, like scholars or higher students or whoever you end up studying with will expect you to know the Arabic, not the English. The English also is arbitrary. The English can be other things, as far as I know. I'm not sure if there is a definitive convention in terms of English, like for translation from Arabic. But there is a definitive convention in Arabic. Like everyone knows what Asma'ul Ishara is, the Arab grammarians, but they don't necessarily know what demonstrative pronouns are. So just something to keep in mind. You can use whichever one. It's better that you know both, but at the very minimum, definitely just know the Arabic at the basic minimum. Asma'ul Ishara are demonstrative pronouns. Also, okay, so apparently you guys have also learned it as pointing pronouns. So that's fine too. This is what I meant, that there's different names for it. So why do they call it pointing pronouns? because you'll see that each of them, this is, that is, these are, those are, we're pointing at someone, or it can be a thing too. That's kind of the whole point of this, that we're pointing and we're demonstrative, meaning we're demonstrating that such and such a person or such a thing is here or there. So you'll see what that means. Asma'ul Ishara, why do they call it? So first of all, those of you who don't know, Asma, this is a good time to know this. Asma is the plural of ism, okay? So you know how I've said before, or maybe your teachers have said before, I'm not sure, isms, that's like applying an Arabic term with English grammar, because in English grammar, we add an S to the word for it to mean plural, right? As you guys can imagine, that's not the case in Arabic, right? That's just applying an English grammatical rule to an Arabic word. In Arabic, you'll get used to this because I would recommend starting to get used to this now. Try to apply only Arabic grammar rules, which is difficult, but it's the stepping board to getting through it all. So the plural of ism is asma. That's why they say asma here. You could say ismul ishara. If you said ismul ishara, that's referring to one pronoun, one demonstrative or pointing pronoun. I'm going to say pointing pronoun to make it easy. One pointing pronoun is ism. Asma'ul ishara is many pointing pronouns because it's the plural. Okay, so definitely know the word asma, and then ishara. This means, so it has different meanings. You could say pointing. You could say, I like the word indication, okay, because I think indication is a better translation of it. It doesn't matter, whatever helps you to remember, okay? It's the thing that indicates something or points to something, okay? You could say demonstration too. I like the translation indication, but again, the translation is not the important point. The important point is the concept. The concept is asma'ul ishara are pointing pronouns, okay? It's used to say this is, that is, these are. This is a super important lesson, by the way, for Quranic purposes. You'll see this used frequently in the Quran. In fact, if you guys can probably look this up and see, I mean, how many examples of this come up in the Quran. Okay, so that's just a quick introduction. Let's get to the actual words. So yes, well, I'll explain this pretty soon. Okay, so there's two general, well, you could say that. There's two general categories of this, okay, based on something being far away. I'm going to first put something being close, something being far away, okay? This is really important because there's not this kind of delineation in English necessarily, but there is in Arabic. So you guys have learned so far the delineation of gender. Gender is a big thing in Arabic, right? Every single ism in the Arabic language has a gender. It's either masculine or feminine, even if it's not a person or an or like an animal or anything that would normally have a gender in English. And inanimate objects also have gender in Arabic, right? Chair, computer, desk, all of those things have genders in Arabic. So you guys are pretty familiar with that concept of everything having a gender. But now we're going to introduce one other category that's important, Asma'ul Ishara specifically, which is whether it's close or far away. So, and as well, I'm also going to put down, as you already know, the other two general categories as well among the, like besides just being a close and far away, it's going to be, masculine versus, how do I spell it? Feminine, okay? So, that being said, let's introduce them all now. Right, okay, that's probably the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to introduce the close ones first. They are the following. Hada. Now, please be aware, you guys know what the standing fatha, right? I've heard one teacher call it the dagger fatha. It's like the the vertical line that's after the ha, right? Admittedly, I actually tried to look it up. I don't know how to type it, okay? But please be aware it's there, okay? If you look in the Quran, it'll definitely be there. I even tried to research and see if I could figure. I know how to type, but I don't know how to type that one symbol. So in any case, hada, okay? This looks like hada. However, this is not the way it's written, okay? This is not the way it's written. This is the way it's written, the one that I'm highlighting, okay? This is important to know because eventually you guys will get really good and advanced enough where you start to read the letters without harakat, okay? I know in the Quran there are harakat, that's fine. But eventually if you end up progressing into the advanced levels, there won't be any harakat to read. So at that point, you'll need to know that this is the way it is. So someone might ask, why? Why is there no alif there? There's different theories. We don't really have time to get into them right now, and they're not really important for you guys to know. But if you're interested in some trivia, there's different theories as to why it's not there. One of them simply is what's called Rasm al-Quran, meaning the Quran was revealed in that way, and also the Arabic language was like that before the Quran was revealed in that way. There's also other theories. We don't really need to get into them right now. For you guys, just know that there are some things in the spelling that there's not really a clear reason for it. There are theories, but by definition, theories, there's no answer. There's no definitive answer for it. That's why it's called it a theory. But just know that this is just something that the Arabs have made a convention for this, and it's found in the Quran like this, and you just have to know it. Okay, just know that it's not like this. It's specifically like that. But we don't say hada. It's hada with an like as if there's an imaginary alif after the ha. So this means this is, and this is specifically for masculine singular. Okay, so hada. So let's give a quick example of it. Hada waladun. Oh, actually, I'm going to make it a little easier because, not easier, more challenging for you guys. Instead of saying walad, which you guys know, let's use words that are inanimate objects, but you should know that what the genders are based on the rules you've already learned. Hada qalamun. Okay, this is a pen. So why is qalam considered masculine? Because there's no ta marbuta or alif maksura or alif uh, which after which it would be a hamza. They call it alif. They call it alif at-ta'nith al-mamduda. But the point is, none of those symbols are there. The most important one being the ta marbuta, right? We're not saying this. We're not saying qalama. We're saying qalamun. Therefore, it's masculine. This hada is used specifically for masculine singular. And important to know, it's used for singular, not for dual or not for plural. Okay? So hada qalamun. Now, it's for close because we're not saying that. Remember that in English, the word that indicates something being far away. The word this is, such as here, indicates something being close by. This is important because hada specifically means something close by. When you guys get to more advanced levels of tafsir, you'll start to see why this is so important because tafsir, the way you interpret tafsir very easily changes based upon how you interpret these words. So, hada for your purpose means this is close by, close. Okay, not far away, close by. Um, okay, so yes, Charmaine, I
Okay,
haven't, yeah.
okay, so if you took off the tamabuta
hmm
at the end and put an alif lam in front of the column, will it be this is the pen? Is
So do
that,
you mean
could you
this?
do that?
Do you mean this right here, what I'm typing?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Is it the same? Is the meaning the same?
no, the
Instead of
meaning,
saying a pen, the pen.
yeah, the meaning is not the same. One second, my thing. Oh, there we go. It froze. So let me just I'm gonna think about this one. Okay. There's two ways to interpret this. Okay, and both of them are correct. It depends on the context. You can say this means this pen, or this is the pen. Both are correct. Now, this is way beyond the scope of the class. However, just because you're asking, I don't mind. The way this can mean both things. Now, of course, this first one is not a complete sentence, okay? Because if you said that this pen, well, the listener is waiting for something else. Okay, what about this pen, right? So this first one is not a complete sentence. The second one is a complete sentence. So when we come to this, yes, it can mean both things. So how do we know which one is going to mean? Well, number one, by context. The context usually tells you, but also I've seen it done like this. Again, y'all don't need to know this, but it is kind of helpful for those who are curious about this. In order to differentiate this further, the writers of the Arabic language, when they write a text, in order to differentiate between these two, they often do this. They say the following: "Hada huwa al-qalamu." So what they do is they put this huwa here. Now, this huwa, technically speaking, is redundant. There's no need to put it, except in this situation, it clarifies things. So this is saying this is making it clear that we're not trying to say this pen dot dot dot. We're not trying to say that. We're trying to say this is the pen. Hada huwa al-qalam. It's trying to emphasize to you that differentiating between two or more items. Thinking it differentiate. Yeah, it does differentiate between two or more items. Oh wait, sorry, Lydia. I'll get back to you in just a quick second. I'm not actually sure what your question means, but let me just explain this real quick. So basically, this huwa is used as a way to emphasize to the listener that what the writer means is this is the pen, not this pen dot dot dot. So this you don't you absolutely do not need to know this, but my point in saying it is when you put the alif lam as per your question, yes, the meaning, it does change. It doesn't become this meaning anymore. It has two possible meanings. First of all, it could be this pen dot dot dot. And then if, for example, if you to further on to say this, if we said هذا القلم, let's just say جميل, okay? This is what I mean that, well, let me put it like this. This pen is beautiful. Okay, that's the dot 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 part, right? We're continuing on further. So clearly this is different than this meaning. However, it can also mean this is the pen. But because there is confusion, because it could be either or, what I mean, you don't have to do this, but what I've seen they do is they put a huwa in there to indicate that, okay, this is what I mean. This is the pen. By the way, also, I think Shramin asked a question. You had asked also in the WhatsApp group chat about that ayah with kunna nahnu, right? It's similar to this idea as well. This is why, I mean, I'm not a mufassir, so I can't say always exactly, but from my experience, that nahnu might have been placed. One of the theories likely is that nahnu was placed in order to clear, not just for emphasis, but possibly to clarify the intended meaning. Okay. So now, but can I say that with the definitive answer? No, because I'm not a mufassir, I'm not an expert of tafsir. I'm still a student of tafsir as it is. But I'm just trying to tell you guys, like, that's like a real world application or Quranic application of what I'm trying to say here. So I hope that makes sense. Right.
Just in the writing, Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Right.
Just in the writing of this pen, where you have under the singular, and you have had that. Is there another aleph or the next one? Is there this one right after down here? Hada akalam jamil.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another aleph here, or that aleph belongs?
Yes, you're right. Sorry, that was a mistake.
Okay.
That was a typo.
Thank you.
I make mistakes too. And by the way,
Oh,
this is
that's
Lydia
okay. I
speaking.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no worries. Who's speaking, if I may ask?
This is Mizan.
Oh, okay, fair. No worries. So Lydia asked a question. I was thinking differentiating between two or more items, maybe a pen and a pencil. Not sure what you mean. Can you expound, please? Either via message or just audio.
It was just a thought when you were explaining the idea of this being this is a pen and this is this pen and this is the pen. I was just thinking maybe it was differentiating between two items that are different. It's like, say you got a pen and a pencil on the table and you're telling somebody this is the pen. That's the pencil.
I see. It could be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. So it could be. In fact, that is often done to differentiate between two different things. I've seen that too. But also, it could be done for emphasis. So as you guys will learn pretty soon, they don't really do this in English as much, I've noticed, unless you're like an English poet or something. But they do this a lot in Arabic. They do something called tawqid, which is basically translates to emphasis. We can also say ta'kid. It's the same thing. So yes, it can be used for differentiating between two things. But oftentimes, what it is often used for is just you're not differentiating between two things, but you're basically telling the reader what I'm trying to tell the listener is this is the pen, and rest assured that this is the pen. Like I'm trying to emphasize to you that this is the pen. So this is oftentimes done in the Quran, not necessarily in this example, but the concept of emphasis. It's very common in the Quran. It's very common in Islamic texts, and it's a very common thing that Arabs do. So yes, it can be used for differentiation, but oftentimes it's also just used solely for the sake of the writer, or in this case, Allah in the Quran, saying that he's emphasizing a certain point with using it like this. I hope that makes sense to answer your question. Right. Do y'all have any other questions before I continue?
I have one more question.
Absolutely.
Where you wrote the sentence, this pen is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, I thought you right, this is a beautiful pen. So doesn't it, word behind the now come, I don't know, it's confusing the way it's written.
Yeah,
But
no, I'm glad. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought, please.
I'm just trying to see, is it actually, this is a beautiful pen?
Yeah, good question. This is a good review because this confuses students. We covered this some time ago, but this is good because the farther you go into Arabic, the more complicated it gets, and it's hard to keep all the rules straight. So to say this pen, sorry, not this pen. This is a beautiful pen is going to be the following. هذا قلم قلم جميل. So all I changed was I took off the alif lam on on uh, on column. Okay. Now, why is it like this? Because if you look at this first sentence, now this I think might go over your heads a bit, so no worries about it if you don't understand. But hada is the mubtada. You guys know what a mubtada is. It's the first word of a jumla ismiya. It's the first word of a nominal sentence, okay? Hada, it's, oh, okay, so while I'm at it now, I may as well explain. All asma'ul ishara are isms, right? That's why it's called asma'ul ishara. They are isms, right? Because asma is a jama of an ism. Therefore, the asma'ul ishara, these pointing pronouns, can definitely, and oftentimes they do, they can start a nominal sentence, okay? They can oftentimes be the mubtada, and you will see that a lot too, okay? Because remember, a mubtada, the only definition for it is that it's an ism that begins a sentence, specifically a nominal sentence. Therefore, pointing pronouns are isms, so they can start the sentence. So keep that in mind. Therefore, in this case, the hada is the mubtada. Al-qalamu, I don't want to tell you right now what the grammatical, it's called al-mushar ilay, that'll just confuse you, so don't worry about it. Jamil is the khabar. This is a good example where the second word is not the khabar. Remember how I told you guys, and I don't know if you've learned this yet in your classes, in your respective classes, but oftentimes for your purposes, the khabar is the second word, but not always. This is an example, a good example where it's not always. The second word is al-qalam. Trust me, the qalam is not the khabar. The khabar is jamil. Why? Because remember that the definition of a khabar is not that it's the second word. The mubtada is always the first ism in a sentence, yes, but the khabar is not always, even though it tends to be, but it's not always the second ism in a sentence. The second ism is al-qalam, but it's not the khabar. The definition of a khabar is that it explains the purpose of the mubtada and it completes a sentence. Okay, so that's why if I said hadha al-qalamu, this pen, okay, so what about this pen? It's not complete. Hadha al-qalamu jamilun. This pen is beautiful. So if I just say hadha al-qalamu, this pen dot dot dot, that's not a complete sentence, right? When you add jamil to it, then it becomes complete. Hadha al-qalamu, hadha al-qalamu. What exactly? Hadha al-qalamu jamilun. This pen is what? This pen is beautiful. When you add the jamilun, it becomes complete, right? That's khabar. That's what it means to be a khabar. The khabar, just like a predicate in English grammar, a predicate is necessary to complete the sentence, right? You can't just have a subject by itself. That's not possible in English grammar. Same thing here. The khabar completes the sentence. That's why this is khabar, because it completes the idea put together. I hope that makes sense. I think this is a good example for you guys because now you see an example where the second word is not the khabar. This is why don't think about khabar as a second word. Even though mubtada is the first word, the khabar is that which completes the sentence in its meaning. So the following word after ism ishara is part of the mubtada. Yes, in a way. So I'll tell you what it is, but I don't expect you guys to know it because I'm pretty sure you're not at that point to know this yet. It's called badal. In other words, and it's also called mushar ilay. It's not it's yeah, you could, yes, you know what, to answer your question in a simplified way, yes, it's part of the mubtada. You will learn eventually that it's not quite that simple. That's a gross oversimplification of it, which I don't blame you. That's a good way to think about it at this stage. That's fine. But you know, it's funny because the way I heard one teacher tell me, and it's completely true about the Arabic language. The further you go in Arabic, you'll realize that what you learn at level 1 is correct, but then when you go to level 2, you're basically are like, oh, that was correct, but there's more to the picture than that. That's basically what's happening. Then when you get to level 3, you realize, oh, level 2 was correct, but there's actually more to the picture than this. When you get to level 4, you'll realize, okay, level 3 is correct, but there's actually more to the picture. And then when you start studying tafsir of Quran, you'll be like, oh, that was correct. Oh, but in this case, the tafsir, there's way more to the picture. Welcome to the Arabic language, and this is why learning tafsir takes literally a lifetime, okay? Because you just have to, there's so much grammar to learn, especially for Quranic purposes, that it's just really, really complicated. I wouldn't say complicated, it's complex. So to answer your question, you'll learn the details about this later, but yes, the word after the ism ishara is part of the mubtada in a way, in a manner of speaking, yes. But you don't need to know that. This is just something that you will learn later on, okay? But yes, to answer your question, it is a part of the mubtada. You don't need to know about the i'rab of it, okay? It basically, this word follows, yeah, it is a part of the mubtada in the sense that it follows the same i'rab as this word. Now, I know that you guys remember mubtada is in the state of rafa, right? Always. Hada is an exception, which I'll get to later. You cannot change the word hada. Hada is what's called mabni. There's no way to say hadu or hadi. There's hadihi, but that's a different one. Hadu, hadi is not possible. It's always hada. Therefore, there is a hidden dhamma on the hada. Okay. I hope we'll get time later on to discuss this more in detail. But that's why the mubtada, you guys learned that the mubtada is in the state of rafa, right? For single words, that singular words, that means that it has a dhamma. So where's the dhamma in the hada? The dhamma is not there. Why not? Because there are certain words in Arabic language, to make it more complicated for you all a bit, there are certain words in the Arabic language that are called mabni. What that means is they're fixed in their way that they are formed in that word. So I'll give you another example. Musa. Can you ever say Musu or Musi for the name Musa? It's not possible, right? That's a fixed word. It has a hidden dhamma on it, okay? It's just not there. You can't see it. That's called mabni. But the point is, it is still mubtada, even though it doesn't show that. This word is part of it, and that's why it has a dhamma at the end of it, okay? It's part of the mubtada in a sense, in a manner of speaking. If that went above your heads, don't worry about it. You don't need to know. I'm just answering the questions for those, like food for thought for people, okay? I can guarantee you, I don't know about level 1, but eventually you guys will start to learn it. You're welcome, absolutely. But eventually you guys will start to learn it. So make sure that you get the concept, but these extra things are just kind of like food for thought for you. Charmaine, yes, you have a question?
Yes, if one of the pointing words are in the middle of a sentence,
Mhm.
how is it applied? Is it still considered an ism in the middle of, it's not only at the beginning of a sentence?
Um,
And I don't
no.
know if it applies in Arabic like it does in English, but,
Yeah, it does.
and I know
but
you have to
it's-
imply words in Arabic, but,
Yeah, it does apply, but it's rare. Okay, so
okay.
basically, what you can say is hada qalamun. You can also say qalamu hada. You can. It's literally the same thing. It also means this is a pen. But actually, you know what? Let me put it like this. A pen, this is. This is used for emphasis in Arabic, okay? Arabs are really big into emphasis. I shouldn't say Arabs. The Arabic language is really big into emphasis. It's like a big thing, especially when you study rhetoric or what's called balagha. It's like once you complete the grammar, you start to learn about the nuances and the subtleties in the language that exist because of the way the grammar and the language work together. This is an example of it. Yes, it's possible. Is it rare? Yes, it's basically to put it short, yes, it's rare. It's in fact, this is why it's for emphasis, because it's so rare. When you see it, you know it's for emphasis, or among it could be other things too, but I've seen it used as emphasis. It's like saying the following: "Qalamu, qalamu what exactly? Qalamu hada. This is definitely a pen." Okay, so yes, to answer your question, it can be used in the middle. I don't know any example in the middle, but it can use at the end like this. That being said, you guys probably won't see it used like that because it's rare. It's not common to see it. Um, does that mean it can't come in the Quran? No, because the Quran does use rare examples. It does. I just don't. I have to like look and see if it is in the Quran. But to answer your question, yes, you can use it like that. It's rare, but by virtue of it being rare, it's used for emphasis. Because when you hear it, then you know that the speaker is being like, okay, he's emphasizing this. Let me pay attention. Does that make sense? Right. So
Yes.
excellent, cool. Any other questions before we continue? You're always welcome to ask questions. That's why I'm here. Okay, cool. Well, if any, just raise your hand or interject or include it in the chat. That's fine. Okay, so but make sure that all of those details are food for thought. I want to make sure that at the very least, make sure to understand the concept, okay? So hada means this is for masculine singular. And remember, there's that implicit alif, even though we don't write it. The next one is, so for among the ones that are close by, okay, hadihi. Again, there is an implicit alif after the ha, okay? The way this is actually written, or it sounds at least, is this, okay? So this is important to know because there's actually, you could say, like 2 letters that are deleted, okay? And in the Quran, they'll show the lettering, but eventually you guys will read texts that don't have this stuff. So you're gonna have to be able to recognize it. This alif here is deleted. So it's hadihi, not hadihi, hadihi. And this ya at the end is also deleted, okay? So in other words, this is what it really is, okay? And of course, you guys would likely see it like this without this, but you can still put the kasra at the end. It's oftentimes shown like this, but remember that there's an alif after the ha, and there's a ya after the second ha. Hadihi. The first vowel is long, the second vowel is short, and the last vowel is long. Hadihi. Okay. Again, this is Rasm al-Quran. This is how the Arabic language divides the convention. So this means also this is for feminine singular. Okay, specifically for feminine singular. Is that considered a long vowel? Which one? So yes, the first vowel is long, the second vowel is short, and the third vowel is long. So ha, that's long. The is short. He is long. Hadihi. So yes, the first vowel is long, the second vowel is short, and the third vowel is long. Okay, so this is it means this is for feminine singular. So I'm not saying that would be far away. This is meaning close by for feminine singular, okay? So to use another example, as you guys can imagine, I cannot use qalam here because qalam is masculine, so we can't use that here. So let's say hadihi waradatun. I'm not well versed with the exact vocab that you guys know, but I'm just going to use what just came to my head. This is a rose. Actually, a flower. Yeah, let's just say flower. This is a flower, okay? Wardatun. And by the way, how do we know it's feminine? Because of the ta marbuta at the end. Okay, that's a pretty clear indication. Okay, the ta marbuta at the end indicates that it is feminine. This is a flower, and of course, as Charmaine and the other students indicated, you can go. You can say hadi hil waradatu. For time's sake, I'm not going to include it right now. I want to make sure I get through the material. Unless you guys have questions, and you're welcome to ask, of course. But if you say hadi hil waradatu, that's this. That could be either meaning this flower dot dot dot, or meaning incomplete statement, or this is the flower. Hadihi hiya al-wardatu. Anyway, but the point is, yeah, it's just as you did above, you can put it here. Of course, though, with that one, I'll just mention this real quick. Hadihi, remember that if you wanted to say it, it would be hiya al-wardatu, not huwa, right? Because I missed. There we go. Hiya, right? We don't say huwa. Why hiya? Because it's feminine, okay? So this is the pen. Sorry, not pen, flower. Okay? And again, if you don't understand that part, don't worry about it so much, but just for those who are interested, you can't say huwa here, right? Because it's feminine, hiya, okay? Right, so, hadihi waradatun. So that's hopefully pretty clear. And again, if any questions, feel free to interject. So hadihi, okay. So now I would like to introduce, so because I'm not sure if you guys have covered dual, but I'm going to cover it just because the video lesson does cover it. In fact, there's actually different ways to spell it. I'm going to see the way that they spell it. I'm pretty sure it's the way that I'm thinking. Eventually. Yeah, we just went over this exact concept actually. Yes. Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, perfect. Okay. So it does exist in the Quran. Now I'm here to tell you guys that the dual tense is very rare. Okay. Now, but the fact that it is used in the Quran, in fact, if you look, I think you guys can see my slide. It's in Hadani is used in Surah 20. I can't see the rest of it actually. 2063 and then 2219. And Dhanika, which we'll cover, all appears only in 2832, Surah 28, Ayah 32. In other words, it's quite rare. Even in fact, I do use this in speaking with my teachers, like hadani, hadaini, but it's very rare. You don't. I wouldn't put a lot of emphasis on this. However, because it's in the Quran, you should probably know it. Again, there is an alif that's not that's implicit after the ha. Okay, as you can see, that's a pretty common theme. This is when we say this is, or like saying these are, for dual. Okay, now hadani is used for both, like two, like for simplicity, I'm going to use like people. For two men, for two women. Actually, no, hadani. Never mind. Never. That's not true. Just two men. Okay. Or you can say a man and a woman, because the whole point of being dual is just two. Okay. Hadani. This one can change. You can say hadani, hadani, depending on the case. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Just focus just on this particular one, hadani. This is again rare, but it does occur in the Quran. So if you see it, this is what it is. But just I don't want you to really stress about it that much, because the dual, it's important everywhere else, but when it comes to asma'ul ishara, it's really not that commonly used. And then you can have hatani. This is the confusing part, because hatani actually has the alif after the ha. So welcome to the complicated world of the Arabic language, because as it turns out, hatani does have the alif. This means these are for dual for two women. Okay. It does have the alif after it. Now, why? I don't know. I don't know why they changed the convention and actually put an alif here, but they do. If you know, don't worry about it that much. Again, it's rare, but just something to keep in mind. And I'm only really introducing this because the Quran, it doesn't necessarily use this one, but it uses the concept of dual in this situation. And then, okay, so that's pretty much the dual for something being close by. Now we're going to get to the plural. The plural is very commonly used, so you absolutely need to know this one. Now, I think there's two ways to spell this, so I'm going to actually, no, there's not. Okay, it's for ulaika that there's two ways to spell it. I have only learned it as this one way, and I'm pretty sure there's only one way to spell it. So ha'ula'i. Now, again, as you can imagine, there's no alif after the first ha, right? It should be like this. It should be like this, but it's not. There's no alif after the ha, and again, there's a standing fatha, but like eventually you'll just learn that it's just there by implicit nature. So this means these are for plural, irrespective of gender. Let me put it like that, irrespective of gender. Okay, ha'ula'i is used for everyone. It could mean 3 men, 3 plus men, 3 plus women, a group of men and women, a group in which there's 1 man and 3 women, a group in which there's 10 women and 1 man. You know, any of those combinations is fine. Ha'ula'i is used for everyone. Okay, ha'ula'i al-muslimina, ha'ula'i al-muslimatu, ha'ula'i al-mu'minuna, ha'ula'i al-mu'minatu. You get the idea. And this is also very commonly used in the Quran. The biggest thing to know is this is for close by. Something these are, not those are. Those are implies far away. These are close by. Okay. Right. And just be aware that there's no alif after the ha. Okay, so that's the ones that are used for close by. Hada, hadihi, hadani, hatani, haulai. Excuse me. Feel free to ask any questions if you have any, but I'm going to go ahead to the next one, which is for far away. And if you have questions, feel free to interject. But in the meantime, far away. Now for far away, it's the same kind of style, the same concept, but different words. Okay. Now these, of course, these are, with the exception of the dual, these are very common in the Quran. ذَلِكَ. Now this one, just like in ha'ula'i or hada, hadihi, ha'ula'i, all those, there's no alif after the dha. It kind of looks like there is because the lam looks like an alif, but it's not. This is a lam. Okay. There is no alif. Sometimes people, I have seen this mistake. I don't know why they do it. Sometimes people write it as if there's a lam after the alif after the lam. Please understand that this is a mistake. Unless there's some other way of writing it, but I've been taught that this is a mistake. This is not the way to write it. Okay. This is the way to write it. There is no alif after the dha. This is by convention among the Arabs, classically speaking, as well as modern. There's no alif afterward. And so this specifically means that is, right? Like we're pointing to something far away. This is not to be used for something close by. This is meant to be, it gives the meaning of something far away. So that is for masculine singular, okay? So if we use the same example as above, ذَلِكَ قَلَمٌ. That is a pen, indicating that we're referring to something that's not close by. Like that pen on the table over there is far, that is a pen over there on the table, something like that. So that indicates something being far away. It does not indicate proximity. So that's ذَلِكَ. Now, as you can imagine, we're just going to go to the next gender, which is the female gender, tilka. Tilka, the good thing about it is there's no deleted letters anywhere. It is exactly how it looks, tilka. Okay? Ta, lam, kaf. That is for feminine singular. So if you use the same example as above, tilka wardatun. That is a flower. Why do I say tilka? Because wardatun is feminine. Why is it feminine? Because of the ta marbuta. That means it's feminine. Therefore, tilka is to be used because waradatun is feminine. Tilka is specifically, that is for feminine singular. And then you have dual. Now again, don't stress about this because dual is not that common at all. But because the Quran specifically uses this one, there's a few ways to spell it. I'm going to see how they spell it in here. Did I miss it? I missed it. Danica. Okay, yes, they use it. Okay, so it's like this. So I've seen this spelled different ways, but generally the convention is like this. Tha, alif, noon, kaf. Okay. In fact, this is the most common way to write it. Okay. So here's the thing. This one does include the alif. It does include the alif. Okay. Same with this one as well. Tanika. Now, this Danica is kind of common, not really. It's used once in the Quran as in fact, I'll go ahead and list it here. It's used in ayah. So it's for your surah. For those of you who want to look it up later, surah 28, ayah 32, and I'll go ahead and list it up here as well for hadani. Hadani is used for in 20, 63, and 22:19. So surah 20, ayah 63, to surah 22, ayah 19. Because of time limitations, I'm not going to pull it up right now, but I might pull it up later. In any case, you can find them there. But just know that dhanika is used for this. And now this specifically means those are for dual. And specifically, it could mean two men or a man and a woman. Now remember, this can also apply to like animals or sorry, no, I can't actually. In this situation, it only applies to people. But the point is, two men or a man and a woman. Those are for dual, okay? Dhanika. Notice that there is an alif after the dha. There is. It's confusing because it just takes a lot of time to like memorize which one's which. Like when does it include alif, when does it not? Usually it will not include alif. As you guys can see, the dual is the oddball out. It's like kind of like the exception, the anomaly, as it is, right? So therefore, it's kind of a good way to remember that usually the exceptions are in the dual. So you tend to see the alif more in the dual. By convention, for the other more common examples, there's no alif. So generally speaking, you're better off knowing that you can assume that there's no alif. The exceptions are, in the dual when there is an alif. So let's look at, there's a question. Let's see. Tilka made me think about ayah. Tilka ayatul kitabu. Exactly, yes, kitabu. In fact, yes, kitab is feminine. Oh, wait a second. Oops. Yeah, you make a good point actually. I almost like overlooked that. Kitabu is feminine. Kitab is actually not feminine. Lydia, kitab is masculine. Tilka ayatul kitabu is referring, that tilka is used because of the ayah. Ayah is feminine. Okay, ayah is feminine. Kitab is actually masculine. Okay, in fact, let's go over that example. I'm going to stop sharing because I need to find said example. Oh, Sharmin, you raised your hand. Sorry. Give me a quick second. Let me find this example.
No, I don't have a question. I just forgot to put my hand down.
Oh, okay. No worries. No problem. Tilka ayatul kitabi. Yeah, I think this is it. Let's see here. So this is the 12 one. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste this ayah into the Google Doc and see if it works. I also need to share it with you all. How do I do that? Let's see. That's how to do it. Okay, so back to this. Let me put it here with tilka. This is really helpful because this is, oh, that did not work. Of course it did not work. Let's do this instead. Copy back to this. There we go. Okay. And this is Surah Yusuf, Ayah 1. Okay, that's easy to remember. This is Surah Yusuf, which is 12:1. Okay, so you bring up a good question. Tilka is definitely used here, as you can see. I'm going to reshare my screen. Sometimes it doesn't always share. As you can see here, tilka uses, tilka is used, right? We know that's feminine. It's not because of kitab. Kitab is actually masculine. Why? Because there's no ta marbuta at the end, right? We're not saying kitaba. We're not saying that. We're saying kitab. So why is tilka used? Tilka is used because of ayat. Ayat, I know it looks a bit different here. You can write it like that. You can also write it like this, ayat. How do we know this is feminine? Well, because this is the plural of ayah. You guys know ayah, it means verse. Well, actually means sign, but in this situation it means verse. Ayah has ta marbuta. To make it plural, we add the ending that is common with feminine, plural, singular. Singular, feminine, plural. Jamr al-mu'annith is-salim, right? So see how it's all coming back together, right? This is why we have to know all of the grammar from the beginning to now, because it all adds up together. This right here, this ending, right? Remember how we said Muslima, and the Jamr of Muslima, female Muslim, is Muslimatun, Muslimatin, Muslimatin, right? Same thing here. Ayatun, ayatin, ayatin. It's the plural of ayah. The point is it's feminine. Why? Because that alif ta indicates femininity. That's why it's feminine sound, feminine plural. Also, the singular tense is feminine because of the ta marbuta. That tilka, the ta marbuta, this is what I mean by that. That tilka refers to the ayat here. So that's why it's not that. If it was just ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ, so you guys know how in the Quran it says ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, right? In Surah Al-Baqarah, like one of the first, I think, yeah, the first ayah actually. Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. That's why, and it's saying ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ. I'll write it down for you real quick. If you said ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, this is of course Surah Al-Baqarah 2:1, right? So ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ, this is where it would be like this, because kitab, the ذَلِكَ is for kitab. Kitab is masculine, so we use ذَلِكَ. Here, we're using tilka. Why? Because it's not referring to the kitab, it's actually referring to the ayat. Ayat is feminine, okay? So important distinction. So yes, you had the ayat correct, but just remember the reason for tilka is not the kitab. The reason for tilka is the ayat, because ayat is what is feminine. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, so to continue on. Right, so yes, now it's for dual. So dhalika is, those are for dual, two men or a man and a woman. It's not too terribly common. As you can see, there's, makes perfect. Okay, perfect. Glad to know. So dhalika is not too common. Apparently, there's only one example, from what I know, in the Quran for this. So it's not very common. But because it's in the Quran, it is useful to know. Don't stress about it because it's not too common. This next one, thanika, this one I've never seen used. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It does exist. It's just super, super rare. I've never seen it. I've never myself seen it used, in anything that I've read, in fact. But it does. I know for a fact it does exist. It's just not common. So if you want to just like erase this from your memory, I think that's fine because you don't really. I mean, it's just so uncommon. But if you know, for the sake of completion, I'll go ahead and list it. For those, this is for dual, and specifically, it's two women. Okay, two women only. Okay. So I don't need to give an example. It's just not very common. I honestly, if I were you, I wouldn't worry about this one. Okay. Now the following, the plural, it's extremely common, and I would definitely memorize this one. Ulaika. Now there's two ways of writing this one. I am actually well versed with one of them in particular, so I'm curious as to how they were. Oh, okay, I see. Ulaika like that, and ulaika. Yes. So this is one way to write it. So there's two, let me put it like this, two ways to write the following. for plural. For plural, that is, or I guess it'd be basically those are. Ulaika like this. And the more common one, which from my experience is more common, is this one. So they're both the same, but be aware that let's say someone just drew in my Google Doc. That's interesting. I didn't know anyone could do that. So ulaika like this. Okay, so here's the thing. They're both the same thing. This is what's called rasim. In other words, it depends on the writing style. Okay, it for purposes of grammar and meaning, it makes no difference whatsoever. They're both the same exact thing. Really, the only difference is that the alif here and the first one has been omitted. The alif is present in the second one. Okay, this example is not very common from my experience. This is the one, excuse me, that you'll see in the Quran. Therefore, they put a standing fatha after the lam, which I don't know how to type, but they put a standing fatha after the lam. It's more common to be used. If I were you, I mean, Fawakih probably teaches both for academic purposes, but this is more common. I'm sure you'll see this at some point too. In fact, maybe in there's different scripts of the Quran, right? There's the Uthmani script, and I'm forgetting the name of the other one. But the Uthmani script, I believe, is more common. I believe the Uthmani script uses this one, but you can see this one because it's not wrong. But my point is that in fact, I myself I don't really see this one. I actually had to look up to see, what way this spelling is used because I know this one. So something to keep in mind. This one is a more common one, and if you read the more common script of the Quran, which I believe is the Uthmani, this is the one that you're going to be seeing. So, but in any case, they're both there. Just something to keep in mind. So I'm going to see if there's anything else that I missed. Oh yes, important. Okay, so you guys see this wow here. This wow is not pronounced. Okay, so you guys so far have been, exposed to ذلك and هذا هذه هؤلاء, all those where the alif is deleted, even though we pronounce it, right? This is the exact opposite. This is the vice versa. This is the converse. In other words, here there is a wow, but we don't pronounce the wow. So instead of it being deleted, it's included, but we don't pronounce it. Okay. So the usual convention is that, especially in the Quran, this is how it usually comes up: is they put a small circle on the top. This is not the same as a sukun. I don't actually know if it has a name actually. They just say tuhzaf al wow. Yeah, when it comes to like pronunciation, literally that means the wow is deleted in terms of like la tuntok. It's not pronounced. I'm not sure if it actually has a term in and of itself. But the point is that usually they put a circle on the top. It's not a sukun because a sukun has a different meaning, right? But what they're trying to tell you is that you don't pronounce it. So something to keep in mind. It is there. The wow is present, but it is not pronounced. Why is it like that? The Quran was revealed in such a way, and the Arabs spoke it in such a way. That's just kind of the way it is. Similar to why is there a P in the word psychology? I don't know. It's just there's a letter P. It's a silent P. It's kind of like that, similar idea. So that wow is there, but it is not pronounced. We don't say ulaika. We say ulaika. We make it short, okay? And what does it mean? It means those are, plural. For, and by the way, this is used for irrespective of gender, okay? So it's used for 3 plus men, 3 plus women, and a group of men and women, okay? All of them. It's kind of easy because you don't have to memorize different ones for gender. It's used for all of them, okay? Let's see. Pronunciate, please. Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounds. I'll do it once more just to make sure. Ulaika, not ulaika. Ulaika. So remember that after the lam there is an alif without a doubt, and before the lam that wow is not pronounced. Ulaika, not ulaika. Ulaika. By the way, this is why they put a circle on top of the wow in the Quran in this word particularly. They're not trying to say sukun. They're trying to tell you that, in fact, whenever you see that circle in the Quran, let me see if I can find an example actually. Ulaika. So ulaika. Maybe this. So this 8042. Yes, this is a good example. Okay, perfect. So it's just easier if I just show examples here. So if you look here, and this is going to be Surah to Abasa, which literally means he frowned. Surah to Abasa, it's referring to the instance where the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he frowned in a sense, with it's a separate story for another time. In any case, Surah to Abasa, ayah 1, that's, what is it, 80, sorry, not 1, 8042, never mind, this is 80, so 8042. Okay, so the point is, if you look at this first one, ulaika, so you see how, even though there's no alif after the lam, this is what I meant, right? This is more common way to put it, especially in the Quran. See how there's no alif after the lam? How do we know to extend it? Well, normally there's no harakat, but in the Quran there's that like standing fatha with a med on top, okay? That med. That med is a tajweed thing. It means you extend it by 4 harakat. It's what's called مد الواجب المنفصل متصل مد الواجب المنفصل, which just means sorry, متصل, it's required to extend it. Anyway, the point is it's extended by 4. That's not the point that I'm trying to, that's a tajweed thing. The point I'm trying to get across is that there's a small little, what they call like a standing fatha, because that's extended. Even though there's no alif there, it's as if there's an alif there. But also, if you see here, this wow, see how there's a circle on top of it, right? So this is different from other circles. So it's hard to tell because this just takes kind of practice, but this is not meant to be a sukoon. Why they put this wow, this circle there is to tell you, to indicate to you that this is not a sukoon, rather it's pretend like that wow is not there, okay? It's written, but it's not pronounced. That's why they put that circle on top of the wow. Okay, so I hope that makes some sense. This is a clear example. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَفَرَةُ الْفَجَرَةُ. Those are the ones who, and again, Charmaine, this is another example of home being used. There's home, technically speaking, is, you could say, is redundant, but it's used among many other reasons. One of the reasons that it might be used is for emphasis. Indeed, for sure, they are the ones who are كَفَرَةُ الْفَجَرَةُ. Kafara is the plural of kafir, disbelievers. And fajr is a plural of fajr. You'll learn that later. It's a different type of plural. Those are indeed the ones who are the transgressing disbelievers. I'm going to see how they translated it here. The wicked sinners. Yeah, that's fine. Fajr oftentimes refers to someone who's licentious or someone who's lewd. It can mean, among other things. Anyway, the point is, the basic concept is ulaika. So you guys get the idea. Now we're not saying these are. We're saying those are. Okay. And notice we're using it for plural. I know the plural here isn't as clear cut because you haven't learned this Jamara, this particular plural yet, most likely, but this is used for plural. Okay, that's why they say hum here. They don't say huwa, they don't say hiya, they don't say huma, they say hum. Okay, so right. I hope that makes sense to you all. I kind of went in that a bit of a speed course, crash course, but I hope that made sense of you all. It made sense to you all. So basically, these are the asma'ul ishara. They're super, super common in the Quran, except the dual. So definitely you'll need to know it. I'm going to actually see. Also, bear with me 1 second. I need to charge my computer. Just give me a quick second. Okay, so right. Basically, I'm not going to get a bunch of notifications I don't need to see right now. Okay, so that's the Asma'ul Ishara. I'm going to see what else, and again, guys, if you have any questions, just interrupt me, but I'm going to see what else there is that I need to just mention. We just talked about that. Yeah, we just talked about that. Yes. So this is basically Sharmeen's question, and I think that since we have some time, I'll go through this as well. I can't see because of this thing. Let's see if I can move it out of the way. There we go. هذا كتاب. This is a book. Right. Okay. Okay. So I'm just gonna assume you guys don't have any questions right now, but just interrupt me if you do. Okay. I'd like to introduce you to something that is really important because this is similar to the distinction between the nominal sentence, the jumla ismiya, the mubtada and the khabar, as well as the mawsuf sifa, the adjective of phrase. Okay, it's a similar concept to that. Cool. Wa iyaki, of course, no problem, Aisha. Sounds good. So the following is a similar concept to that. In fact, that's kind of just up here right now. If I said, I'm going to use the examples they give here. I think this should, well, yeah, I think that's fine. If I said again, هذا قلم, let's just say kitabun. This means this is a book, okay? So what's clear to know, and of course, if you say هذا الكتاب, this can mean two things. For our purposes, we're just going to list one of them because this is generally speaking the more common one. So I forgot to mention that point. This can mean this is the book, but from my experience, it's less common for that to mean it, unless that's the intended purpose of what the author is trying to say. But usually, from my experience, this is what it means. This book ... meaning complete the rest of it with the khabar. This is how to tell between this one and this one. This is going to be a different usage in this. This specifically here, in this one, the hada, and I would definitely recommend knowing this, is considered the mubtada. Remember, the mubtada is the first ism in a sentence. Is the ism that starts a sentence, and specifically a nominal sentence. And because a nominal sentence always starts with an ism anyway, the mubtada has to be the first word, right? By default and by definition. So hada is mubtada. Remember that the asma'ul ishara, they are asma. That's the plural of ism. They are isms, right? Therefore, they can be mubtada because they're isms. Now, remember that the mubtada is always in the state of rafa, right? There is no way to put a dhamma on hada. Same with hadihi. You can't say hadu or hadi. It's just not part of the language. Therefore, it still has a dhamma, but it's hidden. You'll learn that later. The important point to know is, in this situation, dhamma, you can't see the dhamma even though it's implicitly there. But the point is, it is a mubtada. Now, therefore, kitab has to be the khabar. Why? Because we're saying this is hada. Okay, well, this is what? This is a book. It completes the sentence. Kitab is the khabar. Here, that's not the case. Unless you say hada al-kitabu, like if you're meaning hada huwa al-kitabu, that's different. But otherwise, hada is going to be the mubtada, as we already know. Kitab, it's going to be something else later on that basically you can think of it like this. It's technically, so it's like saying part of the mubtada. You can say part of the mubtada. Technically speaking, what this is called is the following. It's called the al-mushar ilayh. It's, in other words, it is that which the hada points towards. Okay, that's what it literally means. That which the pointer noun points at or indicates towards. Okay. Do you need to know this? Absolutely not. But if, for those of you who would be interested in knowing this, there it is. But you don't need to worry about it. Just know that, that's what it is. And of course, like, we'd add something else to the end of it for it to be something else. So for example, if I said, هذا, I can't type on that. هذا الكتاب كبير. Okay. Now we're completing the rest of the sentence. This book is what? It's big. So we know that in this case, just like as before, I'm just going to copy paste this here. Just like as before, هذا is the mubtada. Al-kitab is the part of the mubtada called al-mushar ilayh, just part of the mubtada. And then of course now we know هذا الكتاب. Okay, this book. This book is what? This book is big. That explains the purpose and the reasoning for why we had a mubtada to begin with. That's why it's a khabar. So therefore, kabir is the khabar. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Notice that in this situation, the khabar here is indefinite, right? Because as you remember, the khabar is indefinite, right? That's something that we talked about before, and I'm sure your teachers have explained to you. The khabar is usually indefinite. It does not have alif lam, okay? Same here. هذا kitabun. It's indefinite here. Same here. هذا الكتاب كبير. كبير is indefinite. It's likely to be the khabar. That's why we can't say kitab is the khabar here. Why? Because it has alif lam specifically, right? Okay, I hope that makes sense. Right, perfect. So we got through the material. In fact, we'll just kind of go over examples now, it looks like. Right, okay. This is, I'm not sure if you guys can see the screen that I'm sharing with the YouTube video, but this is actually, so this is how they refer to it, okay. Oh, you guys, all right, you guys have learned this then? Okay. I actually didn't think that they would teach you this, but apparently this is something that you, so according to the video lesson, this is something that you learn. Okay, in that case, definitely know that's, so this is exactly this word right here. Where is it? There's this right here. I would indeed know that then. Okay, al-mushar ilayh. To make it simple, this literally means that which the pointer noun points at. Because think about it. Hada al-kitabu. That hada is pointing towards the kitab. We're saying this. This what? This book. This is pointing, the pointing pronoun is pointing at the kitab. That kitab is the thing that which is being pointed at. That's why it's called al-mushar ilayh. Okay. So I didn't actually know that you were, I'm just going based on this. I'm not sure if you were actually introduced to the term, but it's in the video lesson, which means that you likely were. So I would definitely know it because this is going to be super important to know. The mushar ilay is definite. Okay, I should probably point that out. The mushar ilay so I'll put in here that which is pointed at or indicated towards, sure, let's say that, is definite. Okay, it's a good way to be able to distinguish between this and هذا الكتاب and هذا كتاب, right? So it's a good way to distinguish between those two things. Right, so that's that. Not create a complete sentence, right? Yeah, we talked about that. As you guys know, Hadar Kitabu does not create a complete sentence. We have to add something afterward, okay? So cool. So far, everything I've pretty much already covered. These are just more examples. This is going to take a lot of practice. I mean, just like with conjugations, I think the best way to practice this is read the Quran. You'll see this so many. And now that you've learned them, read the Quran. You will see them being applied. Okay. You won't always know what they're pointing at. Sometimes what they're pointing at isn't always clear in the Quran usage, also with other texts as well, but it's a good practice anyway. So, okay, cool. So that's pretty much the material for today. We have like 10 more minutes. Before we continue any further, do y'all have any questions about anything, whether not necessarily just today, but you know, anything that we've covered since day one of your semester? Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. This is
Alaikum salam.
Aisha.
Yes.
I just have a quick question about the timeline because I'm trying my best to catch up. So we have one lesson each week through August 25th. And do we have, after that, when is the final scheduled?
Good question. Let me share with you the schedule right now.
Okay.
I'm going to stop sharing so that I can, I need to access the actual file, and for privacy's sake, I can't show everyone else's WhatsApp status, so give me a quick second. It's actually, so I'm basically what I'm doing is I'm going to your Sunday, Wednesday, whichever one you guys are in. Wait, Aisha, which section are you in?
Wednesday, the
Oh, cool.
Wednesday.
Okay, sounds good. So if you guys want to follow along with me, I'm just going into the group description of the Wednesday group, but I'll just show it there.
Uh-huh.
There it is, the calendar, but I'm about to share it as well. Let me just pull it up real quick. The short of it is I don't know, so I'm going to find out myself.
Calendar. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that.
Yeah, no worries. I'm also about to share it right now. So here we go. All right, so I'm sharing it on the screen. This is for Wednesday class. Now that for those of you in the Sunday class, I'm not sure who's in from the Sunday class, but you guys are going to be the same. It's just like I think you guys are you know, ahead by one lesson, I think. But basically, excuse me, for those in the Sunday class, just look, go into your WhatsApp group description. The calendar will be in the description. So if you look here, we're on the 26th. So yeah, you'll be covering. Last week was of course a break. You covered lesson, I assume lesson 7 on the 14th, and you'll be covering lesson 8 this Wednesday on the 28th. And then lesson 9 on the this day, lesson 10, lesson 11, lesson 12. Does that make sense? There's only 12 lessons. And then it says here, so you'll be done with everything by August 25th. It says here, oh, so you have 1 day of review with your teachers. That's on the 1st of September. And then your exam is going to be on the 8th. And then it looks like you have 3 weeks of break afterward, after which level 1B starts. Okay. So, right, I hope that answers your question. Basically, we're on lesson 8 like this week, and then lesson 9 the following week, lesson 10, 11, 12. That means you have 5 more weeks left, after which you have 1 class on September 1st of review. I think it looks like it's nothing but review. And then you have your final exams on the 8th. Now it says exam deadlines. So I don't know what that, it could mean either it's a live exam or they send you the exam, maybe, I don't know, don't quote me on this, maybe they send you an exam and they just like submit it to us by the 8th, you know? But that's a question for your teachers. I don't know how that's working. So you're welcome. Will you please send?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Yes.
Sorry. I started out really about 4 weeks behind, and I can't. I shouldn't say this out loud, but I don't see myself being prepared for those exams on the 8th of September.
Yeah, I
And
understand.
if I'm not, can I go to another class afterwards to try to just start all over again?
Yeah, that I know for sure you can. You'll have to, what I recommend you do is, here, let me put it in the, I would recommend doing this ASAP. Let me find out how to chat. That's it. Email the following email.
Okay.
info@fawakih.com. And you're welcome to also, yeah, I tell you what, info@fawakih.com. This is the email to send out. And also, you can CC me or copy me. This is my email. Just copy me on it so that I'm aware, and then I'll inform them that we had talked about it. But yes, that's fine. Now I know that we had talked about a self-paced class. That is in the works, as far as I know. They're figuring out. I think, at least I haven't heard back from them, but I think they might be trying to figure out a way to transition any interested students to go from like a class setting to self-paced for those who might benefit from that more. I don't actually know the details of that, but definitely I can't imagine why they wouldn't be allowing you to redo a class. So yes, if you want to redo level 1A, yes, you can. They don't have any problem with that. Just make sure to email them. In fact, yeah, I think that should be fine. Just email info@fawakih.com, and you can, if you want to CC me, you can as well. It's up to you. But let them know. In fact, I will let them know as soon as possible so that they can prepare accordingly. And yeah, you can just let them know about that as soon as possible. Did that answer your question?
What's your email address?
Oh, it's in the do you see the chat?
No, I didn't. Hold on.
Oh, okay, it's okay. Sure, I mean, I can send it to you directly. How about that? I have your WhatsApp, yeah. Also, I mean, it's if you look at the Google document, it's also the beginning of the Google document, but also I can share with you my email directly on your WhatsApp if that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. In fact, I'll just go ahead and do it now before I forget later on. So actually, no, so we only have 5 minutes. I'll do it after class. So yeah, no worries. And yes, I can create a Google document specifically for lesson 7, and I can send you that, and I can send that in the group chats. Okay,
Okay.
sounds good. Any other questions? Yeah, we don't have time to cover any more material, but do you guys have any other questions? Oh, actually, before I do that, so the last remaining thing was conjugations. So the thing about conjugations is you just have to sit down with them and memorize them. I'm actually really not, or like note cards or like Quizlet or something like that. I'm really not sure of many study aids for that kind of thing. It's just something that you have to just take out the time and memorize. But I mean, if you have questions on it, I'm more than happy to help you with that. In fact, we have 4 minutes left. Does anyone have any further questions or anything, whether it's related to your schedule, logistical stuff, or material, actual Arabic material? Okay, I'll take that as a no. And I mean, of course, you guys are welcome to um, message me at any time if you have questions. So okay, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and stop here because I do want to end for you guys on time for your purposes. What I'm going to do now is I'll send out lesson 7. You guys already have the Google document itself, but I'll send out lesson 7 specifically for anyone who wishes to print it. And if you want to make it smaller print, you should be able to go to file, or actually, no, you won't be able to edit it. The best thing to do, okay, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll send it as a smaller print. Or do you guys want a bigger print? Let me know. Charmaine, how would you like it? Or what you can do is you can just let me know privately as well. That's fine. I can send it, well, just let me know how you want it and I can send it accordingly. I can send a smaller print, smaller font, in other words. Or if you like the bigger font, I can, for the sake of reading the Arabic a little more clearly, I can send it as bigger font too. That's fine. But I'll send that out specifically of lesson 7, and whoever wants to print it out, they can. Alternatively, you can make it into a Word document. You can also copy it and put in your own Google document, or you can just copy paste it into your own Word document and then increase or decrease the font size as you like. And that should be fine. Okay, so I think we'll go ahead and stop here for you guys. Again, if you have any questions, most of you have. You're welcome. Wa alaikum assalam. Of course, no worries. Good night. You have my email and my phone number. It's also in the Google Doc. You're welcome to message me or email me at any time. Otherwise, you guys know how to contact me. I'm also, if you send a message in the general group when I get time, I also tend to respond to those. It depends on the question. But in any case, if you have any questions about this material, I'm here for you guys. Just let me know at any time and we'll kind of go from there. And yeah, that's about it. So inshallah, we'll go ahead and if you have any questions, feel free to stick behind for the next 2 minutes. Otherwise, you're welcome to get going and I'm going to conclude today's meeting. So وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا مزيدا. Thank you everyone. I really appreciate it. جزاكم الله خيرا. وإياك, of course, Aisha. I'm always happy to help out. So I'll stick around for another minute or so if anyone has any individual questions for me. Otherwise, you're welcome to leave. So. وعليكم السلام وعليكم السلام. عفوا كثيرا. No problem at all. وإياك وإياكم عزيزي. No problem at all. Lydia, I see you're still here. Do you have any questions? Just wanted to make sure. Oh, okay. I guess not. All right, sounds good. All right.